So we're going to install the Model Train Technology LED light board into this set of 4 Kato passenger cars. These are all Pullman style, and the customer asked us to also add some people, so that'll be fun. 3 different cars. We have the observation car here, the regular seated passengers, we have a dome car, and then we have a sleeper. So we've got a number of different things that we're going to do with these. It's going to be awfully slick. Now I have this loose here, and I just want to pull this off. Customer had some pretty creative ways. There's a bridge resistor in here, and a light bar going down the passenger car with some surface mount LEDs. I couldn't get the surface mount LEDs to work, but the red LED here indicator was working fine. So this is a pretty good, this is an approach that we all used to take. The difficulty here is there's no way to control it. You can't adjust the brightness, you can't turn it on and off, and you can't make the lights blink. So we're going to add our board, which includes all those capabilities, and we'll take some videos. The first thing I'm going to do is just disassemble and clean up the car. There's a little bit of overspray. I think the base truck platform probably was spray painted black, and so there's a little overspray. But so we may touch up a little bit of that. But inside the car with the people inside, you can't really see it, so that's not such a big deal. All right. After removing the old roof lighting system, we looked at leaving the existing LEDs in there. There was some black tape over the to cover them. We'll probably paint that. That'll just look better. And then we're now working on the magnet wire, and we've stripped the ends off using the soldering iron. The soldering iron with a little solder on it will just melt the enamel. So all you have to do is just sort of tin the end of it, and it'll just clean up. That's got a little extra solder on it. We'll clean that off. This is a clean end, and you can see that that wire is ready to be soldered onto our board. We have the light board right here, and let's back up a little bit here so you can see it. And that board has some pads on it for the rear LEDs, so we'll wire them up and test it. And then we will work on getting the wire from the trucks. This is a Kato car, so they're already wheel pickup, so that makes our life easier. And we'll just run them through the back and connect it to the 2 tabs on here. That's let's see, at this end there's 2 DCC tabs, pads, pardon me, solder pads, and we'll just connect up right there. So we soldered the magnet wire from the LEDs that were already inside the car, and they hooked them up to the light board. We've got some alligator clips connected to the DCC system, and we'll just put the phone down here, and we're going to hit F3, and you can see that the rear 2 LEDs, go around to this side, are lit, and so we're not going to mess with them. We're just going to use those. And the light controller has a blink function, so we'll turn that on, and that's pretty cool. So it'll blink, and there's also a flicker mode, and we use that not so much in this application, but when we use them for caboose lighting, where we're trying to simulate a kerosene lamp, for example. But anyway, so let's go back to the blink mode, and there you go, and or they can be solid. So we'll continue. We'll use this light board and insert it in, and in a couple of minutes we'll be done with this car. The car as it came had LEDs wired to the 2 red bezels that go to the outside of the car, and you can see the magnet wire that we referred to in just a second ago. They had some black electrical tape covering all of this so that the red light wouldn't shine, or the LED light wouldn't shine inside the car. But that uses a lot of space, and it's kind of clunky. So we're just going to paint this a couple of layers with some black, flat black paint that we get from testers. So very simple. We'll just paint that over there, and that'll make a nice, neat look. I think the tin foil was just left over from before, and it's holding down the magnet wire and doing no harm, so we're just going to leave it there. It's going to be covered up because the board will go on top of that the length of the car, so you won't see it. And let's get on to painting. The other thing we're going to do with this implementation is add people. The customer sent us the Woodland Scenics set. I think there are 8 packages, and we've got a few already installed, so just wanted to show you that before we pop the top back on. And we probably will add a few more in the sleeper car. So now we've taken apart the lower section. We've taken the passenger section off, and we've taken the trucks off. You have to take the trucks off because this screw goes up through this centerpiece here and attaches to the plastic, so it holds it in place. Once you take the 2 screws out, this thing just pops out. Now, the other thing I want to point out is that while Kato has this L bracket brass that slides underneath the 2 long strips that go along the body, we've found through quite a bit of experience that this is part of the problem in terms of flicker and some other things. It's a metal-to-metal contact here, and all metals, including brass, oxidize a bit, and the contact between these and the brass get loose and vibrate and so forth. So what we do is we put a very super thin layer of solder on the end of the brass strip and attach a 36 gauge wire. So it's a very thin wire. This is decoder wire if you want, and that's going to go up through the body. There's 2 little slots in the back of all the Kato passenger sections, and so we don't have to cut anything. We'll just slide it right up through that and then reassemble our passenger section. And there we are. In this particular Kato car, there are slots in the back section that we put the wires through. Sometimes there's a slot, sometimes there's a little hole, but there's always some way to get, this is where the brass strips slid in before, so we just use that to run the wire. We attach the trucks, and so now this is all one unit, and we're ready to connect these wires. There's just 2 of them, it doesn't matter left and right. This is the DCC pickup, and we'll connect that up. And we test fit the board. You can see the board inside the roof of the car. We're going to take it out to do the soldering. The DCC pads are right there in the back. And then on this side, on the very left-hand side, you'll see right about here, there's a button. That's a reset button. To the left of that is another LED that's oriented 90 degrees to those on the board. That's actually one of our LED chips, and you can buy those to help light buildings and so forth. We use those because in this configuration, the end of the dome car, the end of the observation car doesn't have a light at the very end. And we've experimented with this, and when we put that light in there, it just gives a glow to the passengers who are seated in this section. Otherwise, it wouldn't be lit enough. Because the next LED is almost in the back behind them. And so that's what we've got there. So 7 LEDs, but not a problem. We've designed for that. These are the 2000K, so these will give a little bit of a yellow glow. And so what we're going to do is take the board out, solder these 2 wires, and then reassemble the whole thing and give a quick test. While we were working on the car, we got a few emails from customers and prospects, and so we took an opportunity to answer them. One of them has to do with the installation, and we thought we'd mention this. It's actually a pretty simple but pretty critical step. I'm aimed at the 2 wires that are coming up from the wheel pickups, and we're going to solder them to our board. Our board already has a little bit of solder on the pads. That's called tinning it. So put a little bit of solder. The solder has resin core in it. It creates a chemical reaction, cleans the metal, and the solder adheres to that. If we were to take the wire, which is untinned, this one on the right is untinned, you can see it's a little bit more coppery, and try to solder it, we would not have a good connection. On the left-hand side, I've simply run the wire with a little bit of solder on the wire, kind of prep it beforehand. I'm going to nip it here. I'm going to cut it in half. and that will just attach very nicely. That's a very simple step, and I don't think people know it. It's not written down anywhere. You just know if you're soldering wires, you tin both ends and then bring the wires together and solder them. Now I'm going to try to set the camera up so you can see me soldering them. But anyway, I wanted to mention that. So we're going to solder this other, tin this other wire, and then we'll put them together. So I'm aiming at the wire. Actually, it might seem backwards. You might think you should hang the wire off the end, but the end is going to be right up against the edge of the car. So we solder the wires facing back into the car. I put the wire on the solder, just give it a little heat, and the two bits of solder, one on the wire and one on the pad, melt momentarily and just stick to each other. It's just like magic. Let me see if I can do that. I'm in a kind of close quarters here. I'm going to try to get this one. Let me get a little bit more wire on this thing and just touch them together. And there you go. They're both soldered on. That's how easy it is. Okay, we just put the car back on the track. We loose fit it so the board is in the roof. You can't see anything. There's a few wires that are coming down. We're going to clean that up later. But before we get too much farther, I want to make sure it works. So I have a test clip here to my DCC system. I'm going to just connect it to the track and turn this off. And there we go. So I'm just going to clip this to the track, and there we go. So that's pretty cool. And let's see if we can turn on the side lights. Yep, the lights on the red lights on the side, and we can make them blink. Turn them on blink mode, and there they go. And so we're going to turn this off right now. We're going to put it in fade mode, turn it off. There we go. And we're going to adjust the brightness down. Let's see. So this is probably about like that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this around, and I'm going to try to zoom in so you can see the people inside the car. I don't know if you can see that, but we filled up most of the seats inside the train car. And let's come around the other side. It's a little tricky because I don't have, whoops. Let's just do it this way. Put the car on the other side. And there we go. And you can see the people inside there. Looks pretty cool. And I have it on fade mode. I'm going to hit the off button. Let's zoom. All right. Save the setting, and now I'm going to put it in fade mode and fade the lights off, fade the lights on, and that looks pretty slick. Here are the final components of the observation car. The people are inside. The LED board is wired to the trucks, and we just painted over the blue LED on the right-hand side with some black, flat black paint. When the board is out, you can still see a little bit of glimmer on the blue, but when it's installed in the car, you can't see it. And that's really the ideal way to do it, because if if you want to know whether the board's working when you take it out and power it up, you can see a little bit of the blue light through the black paint, which is perfect. But you can't see it when it's inside the car, so that's good. We wired, as I mentioned before, we wired an extra LED. We had to solder it to the resistor pad and one of the capacitors, but that's an easy job. And then the magnet wire for the existing LED. So we're about to put this all back together. We used double stick tape on the bottom of the LED board to attach it to the roof of the car. And that's the only detail left. For the next car in the series, which is a dome car, we are going to add some supplemental LEDs. These are warm LEDs, and we're using gallery glass to glue them into the roof surface. And we're going to run the wires back to the back, and they won't be seen. It's pretty hard to see them even through the dome. And then we continue to attach figures to the car, and you'll be able to see them through the window. And this set here is the set that we've seen through the dome car. Actually, it will be facing this way along with the other passengers, and we'll show you the attachment. So very cool when we get this all done. Okay, I mentioned that we installed some warm white LEDs into the top of the dome car, but when we tested them, they're really still pretty white. And for this application, the customer asked us to use the candle colored LEDs, they're 2000K. So the pre-wired LEDs, the warm white, don't come in this 2000K color. We can get them as surface mount chips, which I described earlier that we're going to use. But the solution to that is to use this magical stuff called gallery glass. And it comes in different colors, red, yellow, and clear, and white, and probably some other ones. Those are the yellow, white, and clear are the ones that we use. We, in fact, use some gallery glass as a fastener because it's a kind of rubberized cement, and it will peel off if necessary. But what we're going to do is we're going to use it to tint the white LEDs, and once we do that, they'll be much more yellow color. So that's a really easy fit. We'll just take a toothpick and dip it in and just put a couple of drops on, almost like making a bulb over the white LEDs. So here is the result. Well, actually not the result. We just put gallery glass onto the two LEDs. And I wanted to point this out. It's opaque, but once this dries, it dries, well, not crystal clear because this is yellow, but it'll dry clear yellow, and it'll create a lens. And we'll show you that in just a second. So we're just wrapping up this installation. I have the board just sitting here loosely, but I wanted to show you something interesting. We have been using gallery glass before, but this installation required 2000K or the more candle color or yellow colored LEDs, and they're called yellow color, right? So we pulled out our gallery glass yellow, and guess what? It was really yellow. And if you look at these lights now, they're orange, and that's really the color they should be. So what we did is we picked up some pumpkin orange gallery glass. I think that's what it's called, yeah, pumpkin orange. And that absolutely worked perfectly. So we're going to assemble this up back, and we'll show you just how that works in a second. So here's the final car with the LED light board in the main part of the car and some LEDs connected to the auxiliary pad. And as I mentioned earlier, we gave them a pumpkin color, orange color, to match the 2000K lights in the rest of the car. So we're pretty thrilled about this. And let's see if I can turn the car around. You can get this view of the other side. This also has the auto start mode on. So as soon as I get it on the track, there we go, the lights will come on. And there's the car. And I'm rocking it a little bit. Let's do it this way. There you go. Pretty cool. So here's a shot of the car all finished, and you'll see in the dome car we have filled it pretty full of passengers up there, but we've spread the passengers out elsewhere, because our thinking was that the dome car will be where everybody wants to be sitting, and we had a little bit of a challenge getting all of this to fit, but there it is. This car also has an auto start function for the LEDs, so whether it's on a DC track or a DCC track, it will just come to life once I get it on the wheels on the track. And there you go, and you can see all the people in there. Pretty cool. The thing we had to do with the lights in the dome car is match them to the yellow candle card. So we used an orange gallery glass to make that all work. So we're pretty happy with the way that came out.